It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, she won 9 book awards, and the name of the book is called Don't Bring It to Work. Now, what does that mean and what it's all about? My guest today is Sylvia Lafair, and folks, she's been all over the country promoting her book on the Today Show, but now she figured she'd step it up and come on the Sam Lesante Show. It's an interesting book, folks. It has to do with communications, it has to do with your life, and Sylvia is going to explain to you why she wrote the book and also why it won 9 book awards. My guest today, as I said, is Sylvia Lafair. Sylvia, thanks for coming on the Sam Lesante Show.
Oh, this is a pleasure, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I feel honored because Today's Show, Sam Lesante Show, how much higher can you go? Oh, well, I think you hit the pinnacle. You hit the pinnacle, Sam.
Right.
The book is, Don't Bring It to Work. I know you've been on the Girls Show a couple times. And, Janine and my wife speak very highly of you. They had the pleasure of meeting with you and talking about this. But I'm always fascinated about different things when we're talking about communications, people, dealing with different skills they have. And there's a purpose, I think, for everyone in the country, a purpose for everyone, all right? Everybody has a purpose. But the book that you wrote is called Don't Bring It to Work. Breaking the family patterns that limit success, okay? And success could be defined many, many ways, as you know, all right? But let's talk about why did you write the book, Don't Bring It to Work?
Well, thank you for asking that. It's a very personal story, Sam, and it drove me into the world of business. I grew up in a family business, and my father and his 2 brothers had a business that was fiscally sound but emotionally bankrupt. They fought all the time. And my father died young. I was 14. And I thought, what was that about? All that fighting. So when I had my first job, I thought, well, maybe it happened with my dad, it won't happen here. But there was a lot of fighting, a lot of backbiting, a lot of positioning, a lot of gotcha game stuff. And as I moved on in my career, I thought, it's everywhere. I have to find out what to do about it because it creates stress. People can die early like my dad did, or they get sick, or productivity goes down. And it became a passion to find out, why can't we all just get along?
It's fascinating that you say that because I think, including myself sometimes, we create our own stress, okay? And you wonder how these things happen in the workplace, and I think people could relate to that. There's the gossip, and then there's, you said a family business could be great, and it could be not great. I happen to have a family business, and thank the good Lord, we get along. We have, our discussions, but business is how do you separate them? But when you're talking about, the concept of the book, you said you lived through this, all right? So tell me about the book itself and why should a person want to read this book to benefit themselves personally, okay?
Well, what's interesting is there's a myth that who we are at home is different than who we are at work, and that's nonsense. We bring ourselves wherever we go. There's a book out called Wherever You Are, There You Are, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so the essence of who we are, we need to understand what pushes our buttons at home or at work and what to do about it. So this book is very prescriptive in terms of saying, here's where the problems are. And if that's all I did, I don't know if I would have written it, but I've come up with over the years, here's what to do about it. So that productivity gets higher, conflict gets lower, and work becomes joyful. And it's interesting because we had somebody in our leadership program, and his wife called one day, and I thought maybe something was wrong and he couldn't get to the next session. And I said, well, can I help you? And she said, I'm not sure. I said, so why are you calling? She said, I want to say thank you. I said, for what? She said, I don't know. All we know is he's so much nicer at home. Keep it up. So what you learn from reading this book, you take home. What you learn from reading this book helps you work better.
Well, okay, so in putting the book together, and I know you do leadership classes throughout the country, right? And folks, if you want to find out about them, you can go to her website, two of them, and Sammy will put them up at ceoptions.com, and Sylvia Lafair, Lafair.com. And you could also get the book at Amazon.com. Just pull up, don't bring it to work. Reading a book like this and trying to digest what it is and how do I become a better communicator, how to become a better person. We all want to become better persons. But you said something about how do we all get along, okay? Well, there are a lot of facets, I think, what happened in the workplace. There's jealousy, okay? A lot of it starts with jealousy, okay? Why did the boss do this, and how come she got that, and how come he got this, and I'm more qualified, and all this kind of, and rightly so, maybe some people feel that way, and I'm going to say, maybe sometimes it is on popularity and not on skill, where people do get, certain things, and it becomes frustrating. How do you cope with that kind of thing when you're qualified to do some things, but yet because you don't have that personality that the other person has, you didn't get the position that you thought you should have?
Well, favoritism is a big one.
Yeah.
Jealousy, favoritism,
Yeah.
they live together. There are a couple of ways of doing it. One is, I'm looking at how to make everybody become a better leader. Whatever your job is, you're still leading in some way. You're leading your own life, if nothing else.
Exactly.
And to begin to do things, we call it the way out. Okay, so out. Observe your behavior and see where it's similar along the way. Learn about your patterns. Understand where it came from. And that's my hypothesis, my idea is it came from the family. It was our original organization. That's where we all learned about favoritism, fairness, backbiting, betrayal. And then the big one is transform it into what I call the positive opposite. So we can talk about this in a minute, but I want to stay with favoritism. Often we grew up, many of us, and we were the kid who was the runt of the litter, if you will, the one who was there. So we go into work and we want to be seen as the good one, the best one, and somebody else is, and we kind of sneak back into that thought of, it's just like my family, I'll never make it. So you be quiet. What we're teaching is how to speak up, be heard, how to do it effectively and efficiently so you can still keep your job. And there are lots of techniques and tools in the book to help you with that.
I find it sometimes so difficult for people to establish that they do have a self-worth. You'll talk to someone, I'm just an assembly person, I just go to work and I do this, okay, and I'm just a nobody, and I feel sorry for that because you are a somebody, okay. How do we get people to understand that even though you're doing this, okay, on an assembly line or whatever you are, I think everyone's important. I think the person who pumps gas is important. I think the maintenance people are important. I think everybody has something to offer. And you have, well, you're lucky, Sammy. Well, I say, yeah, it's funny. The harder I work, the luckier I become, And we do have to work, but I think you do have to have some kind of self-worth, knowing that you are somebody first. And I think that's where it's sometimes difficult, especially after so many years that you fall into this rut that you can't get out of the rut. How do I get out of the rut? Because of the thousands of people that watch the show, how does everyone know that they are somebody?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is begin to see what the rut is that you're in. We call that rut patterns, okay? It's behaviors that repeat over and over. And I'll tell you how this came about and how I started to name the patterns, if you will. I was at a meeting once and in the morning, and it got very contentious. There was a lot of turmoil in there. I was facilitating the meeting, and I got really mad, and I don't want to slam your desk too hard, but I went, this has to stop. And I got pretty activated, and I heard somebody on the side say, oh, she's so dramatic. So I left the meeting, and I thought, what does he know? Later that day, I was at another meeting, and it was different group of people. The only person who was the same there was me. And it was also an uncomfortable meeting. And I knew not to pound on the desk, but I put my hands up. I went, wait a minute, what's going on here? And somebody looked at me and said, Sylvia, cut the drama. I left that meeting and I thought, what does she know? Well, 3 is the magic number for me. That evening, my daughters, I have 2 girls, were both in college at the time, and one of them called and she was telling me something that was, again, it was an annoying day. And I went, Julie, that's ridiculous, and blah, blah, blah. And she said, Mom, when you get that dramatic, nobody can talk to you, so how about if we talk a different day? Clink. And I said, looking at that telephone, and I went, drama, drama, drama. So I said to my husband, do you see me as that dramatic? And he just rolled his eyes. He said, nailed you. And the drama queen category, drama queen king category was born, okay? So in the book, there are 13 patterns. That's the first thing people have to do, Sam, is to see, what is the rut I'm in? Why do I keep repeating this behavior over and over again? And then, once you can name it, you start to do something about it.
Folks, I'm talking to Sylvia Lafair. She wrote the book, Don't Bring It to Work. And it's interesting, folks, when you start realizing who you are and what you can contribute, whether you're working or whether you're in a family business or whether you're retired, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a purpose. If you remember, folks, I talked about a story many years ago about everybody does have a purpose, and I gave a speech once. The entire room was black. It was dark. And everyone who came in got a candle. And in the back of the room, it was dark. I had everyone, one person light a candle, then another person light a candle, etc. And as everyone was lighting the candle, the room began to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And I said, so every one of you have a part of that beautiful light. You do have a purpose in life. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7, SSPTV.com. You can watch every one of the shows we produce and all of the Sam Lesante shows we've done. Just click on Sam Lesante Show. And I want to congratulate the girls, the girls who won a statewide award, a very prestigious award. Congratulations to them. It's certainly a great honor for the girls. I want to congratulate my wife and my daughter, Janine, as well as all the other shows we have here, folks. And thank you so much for making the Sam Lesante Show the #1 talk show in northeastern Pennsylvania. Now up to 165,000 people watching this show on the 3 systems we're on, Comcast, Service Electric Cablevision, and Service Electric Cable. We appreciate that very much. My guest today, folks, she's 9 book awards this book won. Her name is Sylvia Lafair. It's called Don't Bring It to Work. Now, we're talking about self-worth. We're talking about being something, and we talked about a rut. And you said there's patterns. So if I want to find out how these patterns work, you said there's a free quiz. If I go to the website, any one of these websites,
Yep.
and so if you go to ceoptions.com or sylvialafair.com and you take the pattern awareness quiz, what is it called?
Pattern aware quiz.
Aware quiz. And what does that consist of?
Well, there are questions, multiple choice questions. It's a weighted test. So even if you're not sure and you say, I don't know how I'd answer this one, just pick the answer if you had to. And by the end, it will come up and show you the 2 or 3 key patterns. We all have, I call them sticky. Like the drama queen one is very sticky for me. Everybody has a few, and I'll tell you one that was very funny. Afterwards, you can call and get a free 20-minute coaching call to find out what to do about it. So it's really a win no matter what you do. But this is very funny. So some gal called, and she was very upset. She said, I found out what my pattern is, and I don't believe it. So the gal who answered the phone said, may I ask when you took the quiz? She said, about 3 months ago, and I just wasn't ready to call. And she said, well, what was the pattern you're upset about? Well, they said I'm an avoider. It was like, bingo!
Yeah. Moods, people could get themselves in different moods. When I was, I used to do motivational speaking, which I loved because it made me feel terrific. And I would tell the people, sing in the shower. Get up and sing in the shower. Just sing in the shower. Look at that mirror and say what a great person you are, and start setting the day up right. Because you're going to start meet people who do not want to feel right, okay? And that's always a challenge, you know. And how many times do you say, I don't want to go around them anymore. I don't want to go with this person. She's always down. He's always down. I don't need depression. I don't need this, okay? So I think what we're trying to say in the book is there may be some key things that will spur up some kind of thing in us and don't make us the way we are, demanding, insulting, or, you know, drama queen. So some advice in those areas.
Well, the advice is to get to know yourself. Whatever you do, I don't care if you're on a line putting things together or if you're the president of a company, we need to know ourselves. It works. It lowers conflict and it heightens productivity. Whatever you do, it's the success factor. So that's what we have to do, and understanding these patterns, because Sam, they do come from our childhood. When I talked about the drama queen, I have an older brother, and he was like king of the hill, and I was just this cute little kid. So when I wanted attention, I learned how to have a hissy fit, and it was deep in me. So as I grew up, attention, hissy fit doesn't work, but I knew it. But here's what I want to say, with all the 13 patterns, I don't want it, like if I had I'm a drama queen stamped on my head, so what? So then that's the rest of my life I do it? We're changing these patterns so the drama queen or king becomes a good storyteller. And that's what I've learned to do. The avoider becomes what we call an initiator. They'll say, we're going to stay with this and get this solved no matter what. I am not leaving. So can I tell you a quick story about how we got that?
Sure.
So drama queen married to an avoider, right? So we'd have an argument, he's out the door. Happens to a lot of men, but he's out the door, in the car, comes back later. So finally, one day, we're having an argument, and, you know, I was right, he was wrong, but that has nothing to do with it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I should. Yeah. But anyway, so he looked at me, he said, sit down. I said, why, so you can get out faster? He said, no, I'm sitting down too. The avoider becomes the initiator. I said, so what do you want? He said, we're going to solve this, and I'm not leaving until we solve it. Well, what happened is the drama queen, it was like a balloon losing all of its air. I couldn't do my hissy fit. I couldn't scream and yell and do whatever I did to get attention. So I said, oh, really? So we talked about it. It took us under 5 minutes to resolve something that could have ended up being a whole day because he would have been gone for half of the day. So transforming these patterns is what makes it amazing. That's what the book really shows.
So you have a person who's very stubborn, okay? And even though they may know they're wrong, but because of their nature, they're still stubborn. Yeah, but you're right, but I still think blah, 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 okay? I think sometimes people become very frustrated because, you know, I'm the first to admit when I do something wrong. Okay.
Really?
Well, yeah.
Good for you.
Why should I hold it in? I mean, you know, my wife tells me a lot of things, and it's not becoming a nag. It's the fact that, well, you know what, that's right. And it's just vice versa. You know, I'll say, Debbie, maybe we should do this, okay? Now, we're married, going on 40 years, so I mean, the point is there's always things that happen that develop, but sometimes to avoid a conflict, all right, and in the book, okay, Don't Bring It to Work, the book that you wrote, why I think is so important, because a lot of what life is all about is what I call common sense, okay? It's how do we put things in perspective that we don't get bent out of shape and upset. You know, families sometimes don't talk to people because of property, because of money, because of, you know, stupid things that they don't, it's like brothers and sisters, you know, or relatives. Well, that family never, and then it's like tit for tat. Well, they never did this, why should we do this? They never did that, why should I do this?
Right.
How do you overcome that kind of nonsense?
Well, I think it starts with us and it stops with us, okay? What we're doing is I'm on a mission. I am on a mission to make everybody become a pattern pioneer, Sam. And it's a big mission because the world as it's going is not a happy place, and we see that all the time on the news. And what we need to do is become aware, pattern aware. And then I have the tools here and can help people through the book, through our leadership program, through what we do online, to transform, to change the patterns. So you're lucky that you're able to say, you know, gee, I was wrong, I own it, Many people won't, but it's from when they were kids and they learned if they said it, they got smacked and put in their room.
You got the macho men that are afraid to say, or the woman or a girl who had it, made it all her life or whatever, and they have these hang-ups. Okay,
Right.
just what's right is right. 2 and 2 is 4. We can't make it 5. Some people try to make it 5, but it's not. And here again, I think coping and a little help. This is like a little reference to me. Let me go back, like a recipe book. This is a recipe book to me. Let me just see this pattern. Maybe I am doing things as a husband or a father or a person in the workplace. Why do people at the workplace don't talk to me? I'm using an example. Or how come when I go into a room, everyone gets nervous? Or there's vibes that we throw. Okay, folks, I'm talking to Sylvia Lafair. The book is called Don't Bring It to Work. And it has to do with just being yourself and growing in what you're doing and have a self-worth. We'll be back right after this message. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Remember, people who are watching us in Comcast, all our program now are Comcast 190 in the greater Pottsville area. My guest today is Sylvia Lafair. She wrote a book, Don't Bring It to Work, folks. Excellent book. But she also conducts leadership programs. Now, your leadership program is really exciting because you were telling me it's one of the top 12 leadership programs in the United States. Tell me about your leadership program. What does it consist of? How do I get involved? Why should I go to it?
Yeah, I'm really proud of that award. We've been doing it for 13 years. And we're starting our 59th program soon. That's a lot of programs. What we do is what?
I'm sorry, before I forget, who comes to these leadership programs?
Well, it's usually people who are in leadership places in their companies. So it's either owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, vice presidents, supervisors. It's a lot of people who manage other people. But we also have people come in who are what we call high potentials, who really want to make their mark and learn about this so they can become great leaders.
That's the thing I think a lot of people would be looking at. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that even though I don't lead anyone, I'm not in a supervisor position, but if I feel I have a potential, this is a great program to go to. What do you do in this course?
Well, it's a 4-session course, so it's spaced over 6 months because we believe that you need to have some learning time in between. The whoops factor, so you have some safety to try new ways of doing things, and then you can come back. It's also the same group that starts. It's like you get your ticket and get on that bus, goes through the whole program together. So you begin, if you're sort of holding back, you start to see other people who are moving forward, and it sort of pushes you to do better. And we also begin to hear that our stories, while each one is unique, we can hear how other people handle what happened in their home life and work life because, as I said earlier, there's no difference. I want to tell a very quick joke, a little thing that happened with this mother who yells up to her daughter and saying, hurry up, get ready for school, you're going to be late. And the daughter said, I have a stomach ache, I don't want to go, and nobody likes me. And the mother said, oh, that's such an old story. Besides, you're the principal now. That's what I mean by patterns.
Yeah. And it's interesting, but again, the book, Don't Bring It to Work, folks, and you get this book on Amazon.com. Excuse me, just Don't Bring It to Work or Sylvia Lafair. Now, you wrote a couple other books, too. What are some other books you wrote?
Another book that's done very well is called Gutsy.
Yes.
How Women Leaders Make Change. And it's just, we're having fun with that and doing programs to help women find out that thing that you all want, how to talk better to men, and how to be more able to be clear. That's one. And the last one is called Unique. And it's about how our stories will make diversity and engagement at work much better. We need to tell our stories.
And when you're putting these books together, it's the experiences that you had that you're able to present in the books, okay? Hopefully that someone will learn from those books, okay?
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you for coming on the show, Sylvia. These are the kind of shows I really enjoy because I always like to have people feel good about themselves, that they are important in life. And that's where sometimes when you don't have that that self-worth, you just can't perform even with your family or just being a good neighbor. It's difficult. So you have leadership programs Throughout the year, correct?
Throughout the year.
Okay. Folks, if you want to find out about the leadership programs, go to the website, ceoptions.com or sylvialafair.com, and everything's explained there. And also, folks, no matter who you are, if you want to feel something about what you're all about, you want to get this book, Don't Bring It to Work. It just snaps your attention sometimes, and you'll be surprised what you will feel about it. We'll see you next time.